Welcome, everybody, to the American Space Museum. I'm Marquette. We're so glad you're with us today to stay curious. Kicking off another week with Marty Winkle here on December 4th, 2023. And we can't wait this Sunday to maybe see this double landing of the SpaceX Falcon Heavy side boosters that's going to launch sometime Sunday with that secret space shuttle spy plane. We're going to talk a little bit about that, all that the Space Force is saying on this important top secret mission for the government is it's going to be Sunday sometime. So, Marty, how are you today? What do you think? Is it going to be Sunday during the day or night? What's your feeling?
I'll just say yes.
Yeah, yeah.
I have no
Okay.
idea.
No, we don't have any idea. We have idea about the payload. For the first time, they're revealing a launch date for this space plane. We're going to talk about that today. We've got our memorabilia auction here coming up Saturday, about our 26th auction of space memorabilia. We do not sell anything out of the museum. These are all extra things that we can do without or consigned to us by you or someone like you that has some valuable things to sell. So make someone's Christmas this year and buy that Space Geek something on our auction from noon. It starts on December 9th, online only, 173 lots. They'll go about one a minute. So this one's going to be over in a quick 3 hours. And some people will be having some really cool stuff. You can buy a rocket engine if you want for about $100,000, Marty. That'd look nice under your tree. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. But we got some great current events news and two birthdays today. And the first current events is there's been a 28th annual United Nations Climate Conference concluded, and our NASA Administrator Bill Nelson and EPA Administrator Michael Regan have announced that they are creating a data center for all of the scientists concerned with global warming and the climate issue to use. The U.S. Greenhouse Gas Center will serve as a hub for collaboration between agencies in the U.S. government, nonprofits, and private sector, and also share with the world. And a lot of this data today is now coming from the International Space Station, but the baseline of it is that 30 years of our shuttle era, missions like the Upper Atmosphere Research Satellite and so forth, that in the 80s really has laid the groundwork for where we're at now, 40, 50 years later. So, um, our NASA Administrator Nelson said it's essential that NASA makes the needed changes to ground and protect our climate, uh, and that the Greenhouse Gas Center is another way the Biden Harris administration is working to make critical data available to more people, from scientists running data analysis to government officials making decisions on climate policy to the public who want to understand how climate change will affect them. We're bringing space to Earth to benefit communities across the country, said Bill Nelson. So we're going to be keeping tune with this. This is a image of carbon dioxide over our planet. Gee, look at the United States. Can't even hardly see it because of the CO2 smog, mostly from cars and other other polluting methods up there. So we'll be watching for that and keep you apprised on. Stay curious about the new greenhouse. Let me run that by us again. The U.S. Greenhouse Gas Center. So another bureaucratic agency, this one to help curb the pollution that's harming our planet. Well, Marty, thank you for the heads up this morning when he texted me and said this is the date in space history, December 4th, 1965, when Frank Borman and Jim Lovell took off on this rocket in that spaceship to spend 14 days together in a very cramped spacecraft. Folks, whatever you're driving, that front seat's probably twice as roomy as what they had in there. Your front seat cars, I mean. It's more like a small Volkswagen, but nonetheless, far surpassing the Gemini flight 5 of 8 days. Gemini 7 set a manned spaceflight endurance record of 14 days. It would last until the Salyut space stations, I think, and about 5 to 8 years later. The incredibly boring mission was made more uncomfortable by extensive biosensors that the astronauts had, and think of some of their orifices. Okay, this was offset by the spacesuits that were the only time they used these spacesuits in any of the Gemini, Mercury, or Apollo program. A soft, more comfortable spacesuit, and allowed them to spend most of their time in long johns, taking them off. The helmet was a very soft, aerodynamic helmet. Actually, they wore these helmets underneath that hood that they put up there. So that's why they're posed with that hood. Of course, Jim Lovell on the left, Frank Borman on the right. We lost Frank Borman a few weeks ago at age 95, and that makes Jim Lovell the oldest living astronaut at age 95. God bless him. I wonder if he's thinking about today. And with his good buddy, they spent a long time together, then went to the moon together. They joked when they got out of this mission that they were engaged to be married. But you got to think back in 1965, you didn't have anything to take with you to entertain yourself, except maybe one of those, a simple little game in your hand, which they didn't. I'm thinking those little peg jump over the golf tee games or something like that. They took a couple books with them, and neither one of them said they read much, mostly looking out the window at the Earth passing beneath them. And they did some scientific things on there, a 14-day mission. We'll be talking more about that in a couple weeks when GT6A with Wally Schirra goes up there and takes some pictures of them, the iconic images of the Gemini in flight. We got a couple birthdays, Marty. We want to wish a happy birthday to Canada's first astro woman, Roberta Bonder. She's 78, born in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, December 4th, 1945. She flew 8 days in space on Discovery on mission 42, and she turned into quite an accomplished photographer. That's why we got this picture of her there with her blues on. So happy 78th birthday to Canada's first space woman, Roberta Bondar. And then Dr. Robert Michael Ron Sega was born on December 4th, 1952 in Cleveland, Ohio. He's one of the 24 Buckeyes that are Ohio-nauts. 2 space flights, 18 days in space, STS-60 in 1994 and STS-76. Was his last flight. He and astronaut Bonnie Dunbar were married and are now divorced. That is Ron Sega, S-E-G-A. Well, we've got some sad news to report. All of you wanting to see the moon landing in Artemis in, say, 2024. Well, that's not going to happen. The big decision maker of this stuff is money. And the U.S. Government Accountability Office said last week that NASA's endeavor to return humans to the moon for the first time since Apollo 50-some years ago will likely be delayed because it is jeopardized by, quote, multiple challenges, unquote, in an ambitious schedule. I mean, how can you get more ambitious than the Apollo? One mission every 3 months, Marty. Well, they're doing an Artemis program once a year. So the Artemis 3 mission, we're waiting on Artemis 2 to do the big loop around the moon with 4 astronauts, and that won't happen in a year from now. It'll probably happen in the spring of 2025, they're saying. In Artemis 3, which is scheduled for December 2025, we'll have to wait till at least 2027. So at least a 18-month setback probably for Artemis 3. Based on interviews with NASA and industry officials and reviewing the documentation, the Government Accountability Office reported it found a significant amount of pending technical work on the human landing system. How are we going to land on the moon? Right here. Duh. But Elon Musk has got more times to blow them up now and get them perfected. And NASA's mode of transportation to the surface is what they're questioning. Starship or the human landing system that Blue Origin's working on. Also remaining is crucial design work to incorporate larger oxygen tanks in the spacesuits that would be used by astronauts on the moon. So we're not landing on the moon until at least 2027, says the number crunchers that are the only ones that make it possible. There we see the Apollo Grumman lunar module, 20, what is it, Marty? 27 feet high, 23 feet high? 23 feet high next to, thank you, sir, next to the 200-foot Starship. So good luck with that. We hope it happens. This, again, a concept of the Gateway with the Orion spacecraft coming up with astronauts that'll go in the Gateway, then get inside the Starship and land on the moon. But that ain't going to happen till 2027, says the government accounting office, and they're the ones that know. Well, want to give a big shout out here to this complicated form. It's not so complicated, to Miss Vicki Owens, a friend I've made the last couple years. She and her husband Wayne are space workers that attend a luncheon of old timers, men and women I'm privileged to attend. She puts together this launch schedule that is just to die for. In the yellow are all what's left on the Space Coast, Marty. We already had December 5th. That was 11 at night, Sunday night. I didn't get up for it. I think I fell asleep. Even the football game didn't keep me up. December 8th, we're going to have a Starlink launch at the Vandenberg. But then December 10th, the next launch on the Space Coast is going to be the Falcon Heavy with the classified X-37 orbital vehicle. There's two that we know of. Each has flown 3 times, so one of them's going to be flying for its 4th time, and one of them has stayed up for over 2 years. All right, we'll talk about that in a minute. Also, Marty, whenever they launch the Falcon Heavy, there is scheduled a December 10th, another launch of the Starlink satellites on Pad 40 with the Falcon Heavy going off Pad 39A. And then December 14th, we're going to have a launch, the last of the SpaceX this year. It is a paid-for satellite. And then on Christmas Eve, NASA is launching a ambitious moon payloads on the inaugural Vulcan flight of the United Launch Alliance. So that's at 1:49 a.m. Christmas Eve. So kind of not the night of the 23rd. So you're not going to miss Santa Claus visiting your house. So that's what's left for the rest of the year here. We'll tally them all up at the end of the year, but this is the busiest year, of course, of all to fly out of the Space Force. And Marty sent me this morning to remind me what a real newspaper looks like, folks. That is a newspaper, the Florida Today. X-37B space plane to launch on SpaceX Falcon Heavy. And that is true as can be. The U.S. Space Force, of course, overseeing Cape Canaveral. There is Carlton Bailey's launch of the first Falcon Heavy in February 2018. Yeah, February 6, 2018. That's the first Falcon Heavy. Marty, you know what's in orbit in that payload up there? You remember?
Yeah.
The Roadster. Starman sitting behind the seat of a convertible Roadster of Elon Musk's company that makes the electric cars. So that's a beautiful shot there, Carlton, and I hope it is a daytime shot so you can capture another one like that. And then we hope to see the double landing in landing zone 1 with the double sonic booms. Definitely they're coming back with that. This is the 5th time each of these boosters have done the flyback on the Falcon Heavy. And here's what this space plane looks like in a fairing from the last time they launched it. The last one that was orbiting the Earth for over 750 days landed in November a year ago. So it's been a year they haven't had one up there. And they had they've 4 previous ones, okay. One launched on a Falcon 9, and then they had no, I take that back. We've had 5 missions this year on the Assured Access to Space Directorate. That is the military's assured space commitment. And the general in charge says our national security space launches, like this is what the space plane looks like. Uh, it transports our most important capabilities to orbit. Uh, we partner closely with our launch service providers, and the entire team is focused on executing a successful mission. Uh, they will, so it's very serious that the launch provider, like United Launch Alliance and SpaceX, do everything on time. Here is the space plane being serviced. This is one of them, not the latest one because it landed during night. This one landed during the day. Got a lot of risky hypergolic fuels there. What's inside that payload bay? Hardly anybody knows. There it is, the last one that came down November 2022. All I hear hinted at is the capabilities of this little mini plane that could fit in the space shuttle cargo bay are incredible. And there's a lot of amateur photographers that are really professionals that photograph satellites in orbit. And here is the space plane in orbit. And there you see it's the back of it there. They're kind of like trying to give you an orientation there like that, except the solar array's in a different place. Uh, so there's people that want to know what's going on here. They think they've seen some things go out of the payload and go back in. You got to believe that the former defense system called Star Wars with lasers and so forth that bankrupt the USSR basically in the 1990s. The most sophisticated defense missions and imagery is on this plane. You better believe it. So it'll be fun to watch it go off, won't it, Marty? Whatever time it does. We just hope it's not one of them noisy middle of the night ones that get the dogs barking again. So, well, that'll be fun Sunday. Well, what's going to be fun Saturday is making someone's Christmas special with a gift from our auction that we do 5 or 6 times a year now, every quarter for sure. 173 lots. Like I said, that's only going to take about 3 hours to go through. Yes, we've got some amazing things in this auction. And from Neil Armstrong's autograph to Snoopy, space flown flags that have been around the moon, and artifacts that you'll never see anywhere else, plus a lot of just regular everyday stacks of pictures, decals, patches, all kinds of things. Well, let's look at a few things, and we're going to be talking about these all this week. Of course, you can get a picture of the Mercury 7 signed there by 2 of the 7 astronauts for a couple $100. How this works. Marty, let's say I want to get that John Glenn signed cover and lithograph, the second one in there. Chuck Jeffrey, our collection analyst and owner of Bid Again Auctions, as the auctioneer, says this should go for at least $200. It's got 2 bids on it, up to 50. All right. Well, if I wanted to bid $225 on it, that's as high as I'll go. I log in now, put my bid up for $225. Well, if nobody else bids above 50, then I'm going to get it for $60, even though I was willing to do 225. So if the other people keep bidding and it goes up to 150 and then they stop bidding, I'll get it at the next increment, 160. So a lot of cool things like that in here. Go now to the website and pre-bid. Chris Kraft's autograph is not easy to find. Could go for as much as $300. You got Scott Carpenter and signing this with John Glenn both. Okay, and these you can get some bargains on the autographs. Sometimes they won't go for $100 or so. I feel a Mercury astronaut is worth $150, $200 all day long. We got a badge over there above my head here from Gemini Titan, all missions. That's a very rare badge. Should go for a couple $100. Let's look at a few more things, Marty. We've got, yes, we have a engine, a Rocketdyne engine, S3D rocket engine, okay? I got some specs on that here somewhere. believe I wrote up something on that there. How we got that. Oh, can't find it. Oh well. I wanted to have the details of how we came across that. Chuck Jeffrey's very involved with this. $50,000 is the minimum that we would consider on this. Okay, it's an original NASA rocket engine used in testing and has been fully restored by NASA. Okay, there it is out it's at the Holiday Inn on 95. Uh, it's on a custom-made horizontal display stand mounted on heavy casters that easily can be moved by two people. This was the rocket used for Jupiter and Thor rockets, and one of the finest in near mint condition, nearly complete with sections of the original wiring still intact. The engine weighs 1,500 pounds with the stand, so you will need to have it shipped by a freight carrier. But you could own that. Minimum bid we're going to take is $50,000, and it could go for a lot more. Well, some of the things that we have are glass slides from the lunar surface that were copied. We've got a lot of red numbered photographs. If you see NASA photographs that have a red number, and I can see right up there's NASA and little red letters and numbers on there, they are like the VIP internal memo photographs that were given to the VIPs and top people at mostly Johnson Space Center and then over here at Kennedy. So there we have the Apollo 12. They usually go for over $200, just an 8x10. On the back of it is the mimeograph copy, so to speak, that details what's on there. And even though some of the pictures, like the one above me, aren't that a good photo-wise, they are still the evidence that man was on the moon. Photos taken out of the Johnson Space Center lab over 50 years ago. And another item that we have up there are these medals. If you're a collector, you want to have a heat-flown shield in a lucite square over there, and STS-1 is the most favored one. These come up quite a bit. They go from $200 to $500 in an auction, but definitely worth $200 all day long. Here's a children's book signed by 40 astronauts. There's one bid on it for $200. It should be worth $600. You got 40 astronauts on there. And then Woody Spring has invested a lot of his personal money in what we call Robbins medals. These were space-flown medals made by a company called Robbins, Robbins. Very high-quality, striking medals there, 1.25 inches across. And they should all go for $400. All right. But, and already we've got $300, $500, $300 on a lot of them on there, which is not too bad. To own something that was space flown. And then we've got here, organize here a little bit. As you see there, another potpourri of things from Space Shuttle mission launch covers above my head. To right above my head's a bunch of jewelry, a lot of it in cases. Some of it's shuttle, some of it's Apollo. Marty, you've got a TV Recovery Team Apollo 11 patch that I've never seen, and a Grumman mission patch that you have seen. Those two should be easily $50 each. And then you got vintage Apollo 11 patches in the middle. Got 3 bids on that up to 70. And then this is a beta cloth. Beta cloth is the fireproof cloth used on spacesuits. That is a flag that could be sewn on a spacesuit there. Those are cool to have. It's up to $50, and usually $100 is a good thing there. Just to give you another idea, from pictures to crew sign presentation by Apollo 12, all crew members, all 3 crew members signed that. The second one in up there on the left. Chuck says $400 to $600. Every bit of it is worth that. You've got 13 press release photos, and then a stack of 85 other photos that should go for well over $500. Fred Hayes signed Apollo 13 launch day photographs, $200 to $500. A map of Apollo 13 orbiting Earth and a lunar chart. Mr. Hayes has been very grateful to us in signing a lot of stuff for Chuck in our collections there. And there's an Apollo 13 badge for mission control that is worth every bit of $200. A lot of these will meet the low estimate there. Of course, we got astronaut signatures. There's El Onizuka, who passed away, of course, on 51L. A very rare Apollo Lunar Module S-band antenna component up there in the upper left that I know, Marty, you helped Chuck verify that was a real piece, didn't you, by sending him a photo from LEM 9 out there at Kennedy Space Center. And look at the Snoopy there and all those rare patches. Those are hard to find decals, okay, of the Snoopy area. A few of them I've seen, like the one in the middle and the Apollo 11 lunar team on the right, but you're looking at $200 worth of decals there, and it's already up to $150. And then finally, you've got astronaut autographs. Moonwalker Charlie Duke should go for $200 to $300 easy. You've got the Apollo Soyuz stuff in there. Skylab 2 backup crew signed event cover. That'd be Schweikert, Musgrave, and Bruce McCandless signed that. And we had Rusty Schweikert in our building 2 weeks ago and talking about that mission. And on, you got 13 astronaut lithographs signed there. That should go for at least $100 a shuttle one. So, Marty, bid till it hurts is what they say, and make somebody happy with a gift from our shuttle, our shuttle, Apollo, Mercury, Gemini, anything you want is in this collection. Now, Chuck usually has over 300 lots in there, so you better get on quick because it'll go fast and you can buy some stuff, and I promise you it will be shipped to you in time for Christmas, Dave Stange, if you're watching up there and wanting a Christmas gift. Carlton Bailey, again, thank you for your excellent use of your permission for us to use your photography. Gary Gerald's up there in Georgia. Bill Whiting's up in Michigan. Doug Forrest in Los Angeles. Robert Law in Dundee, Scotland. And Cliff Watson on the east coast of Australia, enjoying springtime. We're still having summer here, mate. I'm telling you, 80-some degrees again today, Marty. But I think Wednesday the high is supposed to be 65. So keep that jacket handy here on our Space Coast. So, Marty, anything else we need to share with our friends today?
Nope, we're good.
All right. Well, let me put my face up there big and bold and tell you that Sunday is when we're hoping to see this doubleheader of two Falcon 9 rockets land side by side after it puts up America's super spy shuttle, the X-37. So tomorrow we're going to talk about some space history going on. We're efforting some guests all week. Wednesday we got a special guest, a gentleman that worked on Gemini in his 80s. His daughter came in. We'll be talking about that more tomorrow. So until next time, I'm Mark Marquette saying we can't wait to see you again to bridge the space between us.